Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Friends and family, welcome back. We are so very back. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. You are joining us for Pod Mavericks After Dark. We are coming to you live just about 15 minutes after the season opening win by the Dallas Mavericks over the San Antonio Spurs. Josh, how you doing?
Doing okay. We're back. Real game. It was fun to see everyone play, especially after a preseason where everyone was kind of hurt. What more can you ask for? You know, pretty much a blowout win against a team they should have won. For the most part, a blowout. I know the final score doesn't look like that, but took care of business. Early game. We're recording at 9:17 local time. Like, this is how I want to start the season. Not going to bed late. Mavericks win, so no one's grouchy. Checked every box tonight.
And you know what's fun is the additional fact is, you know, we have the first late game on Saturday, which means, you know, we'll be okay because we'll survive into Sunday. It was a really, really fun first game where you got a full taste of just about every element of what you were looking for from the Mavericks heading into the season. If you have an agenda to get off, the Mavericks game that we just watched gave it to you. So many things happened in that game. I don't really know where to start. Though I think we have to start with the Klay Thompson of it all. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that's what everyone's going to be talking about. I mean, it was very noticeable. I mean, he was awesome.
He was awesome. Like, absolutely awesome. Team leading plus 16 in 26 minutes, 6 of 10 from 3, 7 of 13 from the floor. Chipped in 7 rebounds, including 3 on the offensive end, which was hilarious. And then 3 steals. And he was there was a walk-off three-pointer that he hit from the right wing when the game was getting out of control, where Luka passed it to him and turned around and walked away in a similar fashion, like Nick Young after he took that wild-ass 3 that everyone sees on the GIF. I just had a great time watching him. I was, more than anything else, though, I was really happy for him in the sense that he's had his last 5 or 6 basketball outings have been pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. I wrote the preview for this game, and I was noticing because, you know, we try to keep plugged in with what the fans are feeling, especially, you know, the online diehards, because that's most of our audience are the lunatics that want to stay up with us and watch us live. So we want to know what y'all are thinking, and, you know, there was definitely some fear and some concern, and I was wondering, like, where is this coming from? Because Klay's been great shooting the ball since coming back from his injury, like the last 3 years. So I'm like, why are people worried about this part? And I realized because it's been 6 months since he's had a good basketball game. Because you think about the last 4 times you got to see Klay spanning 6 months, it was that play-in game where he went 0 for 10 and the Warriors lost, and then the bad preseason games. He was 7 of his last 39 the last 4 times you've seen Klay since April. And that just sticks in your brain, right? Even if you're as rational as you want to be, it's like, wow, he has not played good. I haven't seen him have a good game, since last season. And that just sticks in your head. So it was just good to reassure everyone. Oh yeah, this is the guy that made 39% of his threes the last 3 seasons on like 10 attempts per game. And he was absolutely that. I think the things that were like, I was not worried about his shooting at all. And we can get into the way the Mavericks have incorporated him and used his off-ball gravity and the way he's moving off the ball and how that changes things for the Mavericks offense. We can get into that. But to me, the big thing, because that wasn't a surprise to me. I knew the Mavericks were going to do that. What did surprise me, and again, it's only game one against a likely lottery team, was just physically how well he moved. And I think he looked as fresh as he's looked in some time since those injuries. He had 3 steals. Defensively, I thought he was there. And that was the thing, like defensively, how are you going to hold up with Clay, Luka, and Kyrie being your 3 best players, really, or at least 3 of your best 4? And there's defense question marks about all 3 of those guys in certain ways. And tonight they passed it with flying colors. Obviously, the Spurs don't have, our staffer, Matthew Phillips, in our Slack was like, the Spurs don't really have a guard with juice that can test the defense of that trio, but they can only play who's in front of them. And played, and he played well, and he looked well, and he moved his feet well, like 3 steals. Like that was the part that jumped out to me.
Well, the other part, and we knew this, but it's also just fun to see. The Mavericks are enormous. So even if Luka and Clay are not particularly mobile, they're each huge. Yeah. So Clay at one point, there was a couple of different attempts where Luka was pulling an SGA where he's like sneaking from behind, trying to go for steals. Like that's a big guy to come from your backside to try to swipe the ball. And when Clay's on one and Luka's coming from the other side, even if you're not top-notch defenders, you're still big-bodied individuals. And Matthew's right. This is not the game to really write home about the defense, but you like the effort. And the Mavericks defense as a whole was really spectacular. There was at one point in the game, and because I was paying attention to the box score, at one point in the game, each team had 8 turnovers. The Spurs finished with 19. The Mavericks finished with 9. And I want to say that one was like on an oop to Derek Lively that just got picked away at the last second. So it was.
Yeah, and the Mavericks scored 17 points off those turnovers in a game they won by 11.
That's just pretty fantastic. And all right, so just kind of working our way through the roster, we can talk about different plays and things that happened. The next guy that is worth really writing home about is Derek Lively. Derek Lively came off the bench because Jason Kidd likes trolling us. I think we can talk about more why if it happens during a different point in the regular season, but quite honestly, I don't want to make it a thing. I don't care. The Mavericks got the win. That's what's more important to them. That's what should be more important to us, at least at the moment. We can talk about it more at a point when it matters more. It doesn't matter now. Lively was amazing. 28 minutes, 15, 11, and 6. That's fantastic.
6 assists, by the way. Not like steals or blocks.
Yeah, he also had 1 steal. He had no blocks, but his presence at the rim was there all night long. I wonder how many dunks he had because he had 6 made field goals. He had to have had at least 4 dunks.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I was there. I'm not going to lie. There was like the devil part of my brain that was wondering if you were going to fire off a classic Kirk Grant tonight. If Gafford started, Lively looked awesome, but Gafford finished a game in a close loss. If that was going to send you over the edge for game 1, but I'm glad you get to pace yourself. We don't have to have that conversation tonight. But yeah, Lively was awesome. Sorry, and you look like you were about to say something.
Well, it's hard to know where you want to focus on the Lively thing because there's just so many things that he does that jump off the screen at me that make me so excited. The passing is, particularly from that elbow area, is something the Mavericks are going to have to figure out ways to utilize more and more just because it makes the team almost impossible to guard. We already talked about the Klay Thompson, Luka, Kyrie element of making them hard. But if you had a 4th passer, and I haven't even gotten to PJ, who had some excellent dishes tonight. If you have the ball movement chops that these guys displayed and Derek Lively displayed, they're just going to be able to do different things at different times, and it makes them look like just kind of terrifying. I think my favorite Lively play of the game, though, he challenged Wemby at one point and got his shot thrown back in his face. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
Then Lively doing the thing that you beg young players to do, but it's really hard to get across to younger players, is he hustled back on defense. And what did he do, Josh? Do you remember?
Sorry, go ahead.
He got the steal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He picked the steal off. Like, so he just hustles, he gets back, he doesn't get in his own feelings, and he makes a play, and he proves why he needs to be out there as much as possible. The dunks are going to become an afterthought to a certain extent, which is ridiculous to say out loud, but that's just sort of the way these things go. He's so impressive in so many different elements, and I think in comparison to Clay and the other Mavericks that didn't, again, you're watching the Mavericks play defense against guys that don't have the best driving skills. Like Jeremy Sohan is constantly out of control. He drives me crazy. I don't think he's very good. That's fine. But Lively got to match up with some pretty functional Spurs bigs. He wasn't always guarding Victor Wembanyama, who had a pretty horrible game, which I'm sure we'll circle back to. Zach Collins is a big guy. And Bassey, they just have some guys that I think throwing up against. I just like seeing his effort. So what else would you like to add about Wemby's game? I'm sorry, but Lively's game.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that complete next step kind of effort where, like, I think you hit the nail on the head where you were like, I almost don't care about the dunks because like we know that, like, it's all the other stuff that he does that just. That's what raises the ceiling of the team, and honestly, like his career and like where he can go. Like, yeah, if he turns into the best that he is that Tyson Chandler rim running, rim protecting defensive center archetype, he will be a very successful NBA player for a long time and be an impactful winner. But we both think that there is a little bit more there than just that. Not trying to say that being just that is a bad thing, but he just keeps doing things every time we watch him that we're like, oh, he can do that. Oh, I didn't know he could do that. Okay, let's see if he can do this now. And I think the Mavericks keep experimenting with that. He had the 6 assists. The Mavericks centers as a whole, Gafford and Lively combined for 8 assists, and they both did handle the ball a decent amount. At the elbow near the top of the key. And I think the Mavericks got comfortable with that toward the end of last season, kind of got away from it in the playoffs, which you understand because coaches get a little bit more conservative and you want the ball in the hands of your best players more. That'll be something to watch to see if they go back to that more. And if they feel like they can trust it more in high leverage situations against the best teams, not just when you're running the score up in the third quarter against the Spurs. But it's still a great development, and it really opens a lot of things up, and they probably feel more comfortable doing it with a Clay because before, their starting lineup was Luka, Kyrie, Derek Jones Jr., PJ, and then one of the centers. If you give one of the centers the ball, like Luka is improved as an off-the-ball shooter, but really your only off-ball consistent shooter is Kyrie in that lineup. Now you add Clay, you got 2 bona fide off-ball shooters. Kyrie is a little bit better. PJ, you hope that he's a little bit better. I think just replacing Derek Jones Jr. with Clay in that lineup, I think lets the Mavericks feel a little bit more comfortable with their centers holding the ball and running some offense around that because they just have the personnel to take more advantage of it because we've seen how good Clay is running around off screens and running off those pin downs and dribble handoffs from his big. We didn't see it tonight because the Spurs didn't really, overplay it that much. But we didn't see that, that nice pocket pass to the center for a dunk, unless I missed one. I apologize. Clay only had 1 assist, but otherwise, it was that I really enjoyed that. And then Lively defensively, no blocks, but the way that he is able to stay floor bound and contest is just well beyond what a 20-year-old center should be. Like, remember the days of like when we were watching JaVale McGee. Not even JaVale McGee a couple years ago, the first time the Mavericks brought in JaVale McGee, and when they brought in Willie Cauley-Stein, and they brought in these, even Nerlens Noel to a degree, these athletically gifted centers who would just jump and go for the show-stealing block every single time. And here you've got a guy that's, hasn't even played, he's played a total of like 100 NBA games, including the playoffs, and he's already guarding defensively like he's been in the league for 20 years. Like that was really great to see. You didn't see,
how many travels he caused?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Go ahead.
At least what? Like I noticed at least 2, maybe more. I mean,
I counted 3.
Oh, okay.
2 in the first half, 1 in the second.
Yeah. That's just tremendous stuff. Like that's just the kind of stuff that's like gets us so giddy about his ceiling.
There was one, I
it's
just got to talk about it.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just have to talk.
No,
So
go.
Wemby gets him on the left wing, and Wemby basically shakes him like Lively was lost. And Wemby gets out to it was close to the 3-point line. Wemby honestly should have taken the shot at the 3-point line because he shook Lively off him. Then drives, Lively recovers, gets up body to body, a little bit of space. He drives on Lively. Lively sticks with him. He gets about that kind of short corner, about 10 feet in, and Lively just stays. He does a nice little pump fake. Lively does not bite. Wemby falls. Wemby is incredibly balanced for a 7'4" guy. Like makes Porzingis look like somebody falling over all the time. And it was incredible bit of defense. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was great, and we can transition that into what the Mavericks did against Wemby. Wemby was 5 of 18 from the field, and it felt worse than 5. I'm going to be honest. When I kind of went back and looked at the box score, I was like, he made 5 shots. He had 0 impact on that game offensively. Defensively, he made it. He's still that good defensively.
He had 2 makes. So he had 3 makes inside the key. He was 2 of 4 in the restricted area. By the way, I'm looking at this, and I'm sorry, bro. You're 7'4". You got to be like 90.
It's the attempt, but the thing is, it's not even the makes; it's the attempts, right?
Mavericks bodied them out of the way.
Yeah, they did, but that's kind of why you do the trade for it's why you have Gafford and Lively, because you basically get 48 minutes of a big beefy. Like there was no time for Wemby. Like there was no moment where it was like, okay, the backup's checked in, let him go. Like just let him go to work. Like, oh, the backup is Derek Lively, and then even if Lively started, okay, the backup is Daniel Gafford. Like there was never an opportunity for him to pick on anyone on the roster. And even if they tried to do some switches with some screens, like PJ Washington has shown that he can body him up pretty well. He did it last season. I don't know if he had an opportunity to do it tonight. But the Mavericks didn't let him get any catches, really a lot of catches clean inside the rim. Thought they switched up their coverages. I thought they did a good job going from digging in, doubling, playing straight up. I thought they mixed it up pretty well. And I was very encouraged by the team effort defensively. They did kind of give up some, preseason, some first game rust, backdoor cuts, some bad drives. The Spurs scored 44 points in the paint, and they did shoot 70% at the rim, which is, the Mavericks, after they made the trades last season, that was their calling card, was basically teams were shooting 50% at the rim against them. So they had, it wasn't a perfect game, but you still saw that kind of connectivity. You saw that size advantage, which you've already mentioned multiple times. And just the things that they can clean up is, I think, things that was like Luka not playing in the preseason, gave up a backdoor cut and gave up some plays here and there, but he also got some plays back. So I think everyone in that played had a defensive moment or two, which was cool. And yeah, overall the defense was great. The bigs were great. And really the only knock you could say on this game was the offense in the first half. But I mean, again, they didn't have a dress rehearsal. The first half was so much, this looks like a group of guys that did not play at all together in the preseason.
That's right. Yeah. Well, okay. We talked about Wemby. I want to go to a quick break here, but I need to read some things to you before we go to a quick break. So these are some Victor Wembanyama nicknames that I'm seeing upon the wire. We have Paris Pachulia. We have Croissant Chris Mim. And Bon Bonner. God, I love making fun of players, even though he's obviously outstanding. Just a good way to go with things. All right, guys, we're probably a little past the halfway point. I want to try to keep these to a half hour because we do a secondary live show, which you guys should be aware of, which I will host tonight, and I'm basically going to be on video for 4 straight hours tonight. Too much Kirk in your face, but whatever. For those of you who are listening for the first time on audio stream, please go ahead and subscribe to Pod Maverick. We do this after every game, and then I try to host a secondary show after every game. We're going to do that a lot more this year. It's a lot of fun. Those of you who are watching on the YouTube stream, if you haven't subscribed to the show, please go ahead and do so. I know you have a lot of options in pre and post game shows. Josh and I would appreciate your support, and you can subscribe to our show and then also click the bell to get notified as to when we go live. We're going to insert some ads here, and then Josh and I will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Get your holidays started with the perfect tree in your perfect style from the Home Depot. Whether you want something that you can assemble in a few clicks, steal the show with over 2,000 color-changing bulbs, or a tree with lights that can be controlled by remote or foot pedal. The Home Depot has it all in our huge assortment of premium trees. Plus, get free delivery on over 2 million items this holiday from the Home Depot. Subject to availability. See homedepot.com/delivery for details.
One day I'll figure out a better way to do that transition than leaving like 5 seconds of blank space. But I am an amateur, and we are just having a good time. Gosh, where to next? I think we got to mention Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy kept the Mavericks. Kept them. I don't see you kept them afloat in a game that they were up by 20 points. But the first half was so grimy, and his sort of injection of energy. He only ended up with, I think, 1 assist, maybe 2. What does he have here?
2.
Sorry, 2. Okay, well, he had some really stellar playmaking this game, and it didn't get rewarded in the box score. But for a guy that as of the summer before last, he went to Summer League and after his rookie year and still looked utterly lost. His playmaking has been great. The shot is going to go. I mean, there's one by Rolex in the chat said Hardy's been working on his shot. I mean, he was a scorer in high school. That was why he was the number 2 player in the nation. He's really good from the wings when he shoots from threes. It's some of the goofy mid-range stuff that he's got to work out of his game. That's fine. In terms of what we've talked about going back to the offseason, the season is too long to rely on, okay, these are 7 guys. You need people to step up. Dante Exum was supposed to be that first guard off the bench. I think we all thought Grimes was maybe going to be the guy, and I think Grimes was actually the first guy off the bench tonight. But Hardy made a case for himself and limit. I guess he played a pretty good number of minutes tonight. He ended up with 20 minutes. He scored 11 points, had 2 helpers, and 2 turnovers. That is what it is. I was just impressed with his game. What did you think?
Yeah, me too. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised that in the first half, when everyone kind of looked like they were 2 feet in mud for the most part on offense, that the one guy that played a lot in the preseason and got up a lot of shots in the preseason was the one guy ready to go in the first half when everyone else was still trying to find their sea legs offensively. So that probably, I didn't even think about that before the game tipped off. Like, that just made a lot of sense. Like, him making those threes, like you said, I mean, it kind of saved them because, I mean, I think the Mavericks probably end up winning this game anyway, but it goes from them needing to dig themselves out of maybe a double-digit deficit at halftime. Like, who knows where the Mavericks would be if he didn't make those threes in the first half. So, yeah, he has to be ready. No Dante Exum. He is, I think he was was he the first guard to check in tonight? I can't remember.
It depends on what if you consider Grimes was first. I'm really positive of that, and it really depends like what you consider Grimes.
Yeah, but I think the big thing, 20 minutes for him, 3 minutes for Spencer Dinwiddie. So I think that goes to show kind of who has that early edge, and I don't think that should be a surprise. Not saying it's a surprise, but you never know when it comes to veterans. Coaches sometimes will lean on the vets. But when the preseason played out the way it did, like, obviously, if you're picking between Hardy and Dinwiddie, like, obviously it was Hardy. Like, Hardy looked way better in the preseason. So good to see that preseason performance was rewarded with him getting those crucial first half minutes. Good to see him pay that off by being, a dead-on shooter. Like, again, the playmaking stuff, like, is kind of, tertiary to him? Like, his role on the team, as long as Luka and Kyrie are here and healthy, is he just kind of has to spot up and make shots and then make plays around that space that he's given, which is why I think there's such a drastic difference between how he looks and sometimes in the preseason or summer league versus how he looks in the regular season, because it's such a drastic role change for him.
But I want to give some credit to the skill level, because he would placing passes where guys most need the ball is hard. Like, Luka's amazing at it, and I think it's actually really something we're almost taking for granted. But He got Lively for a dunk tonight that was just beautiful, like right in the pocket on the run that allowed him to jam. And then he caught Lively again on like Lively was right below the rim, and Lively just blew the shot. It was just a missed like one of Lively's two misses, or maybe he got fouled. But I just want to pay homage to that sort of thing because we've watched off-target passes, and it's pretty. And frankly, as lapsed big men ourselves, how much does it piss you off as a big to get a pass thrown at your knees when you're up here? Like I just liked it. Is all I'm saying.
No. I liked it too, for sure. I think that stuff. Yeah, I wasn't trying to discount it. More it's just like a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just changes because we do look at like the preseason stuff and the summer league stuff, and you're like, man, this just looks awful. And then he plays in these he played better. He played better in the NBA Finals than he has in either of his two summer league appearances.
That's true.
And it's like, wait, how does that happen? And it's I think the role just matters. And like he just has a good jumper. Like when he's catch and shoot, like it's pretty. It's a good, it's a
pure looking shot. No, I agree.
I think the more he gets to do off ball, the better he looks as a player, and then that allows him to kind of lean more into the on ball stuff, kind of take it at his own pace instead of it being thrust upon him. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes a difference. Feels like
in days gone by, if Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving posted a combined, I think they're 15 of 42.
We haven't even talked about them.
We've not talked about the two best players of the game. That just shows you how well this game went for the rest of the Mavericks. For the fact that we get, because I mean, what's 17 plus 25? You'd think I could do math in my head, but I can't. So we're just going to go to the calculator. Yeah, they're 15 of 42. Those two shoot, that poorly. The Mavericks usually lose. Instead, they win by double digits. And who should we talk about first?
Luka's game was less surprising. Like he didn't play in the preseason. Like that looked like a dude that did not.
He looked like a guy that didn't play.
Yeah, like we knew I anticipated his shot looking off, and he did get better as the game went on. I think he shot a little bit better in the second half than he did the first half. He definitely made more threes in the second half, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Because the first half he was 0 of 5 from 3. So in the second half he was 4 of 6 from 3, 5 of like the second half very much looked like him. 5 of 11 from the floor, 4 of 6 from 3, 19 points, 4 assists. Did have 3 turnovers, 6.
How many threes did he hit in a row? Because he was 0 for 6 at one point, I feel like, and then he finished.
He probably hit like 2 or 3. Yeah, he finished 4 of 11. So yeah, he finished well. Kyrie was very deferential tonight. Like. Mm-hmm.
Sort of. He got 17 shots up.
He did, but there were moments when
Luka good shots.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't take a lot of bad shots tonight, and he doesn't normally take a ton of bad shots. Right. So, I mean, but Kyrie had some good moments defensively. He had a block and 2 steals. I mean, everyone had a steal. It felt like they had 9 steals, 5 blocks.
That was the key. That was the key to last season.
Yeah, and the playoff run. Like, remember we talked about how athletically. Like the big difference between the bad season in 2023 when they missed the playoffs and then the finals run is like they went from a team that never got splash defensive plays to always getting them. And I think there was some fear with you replace Derrick Jones Jr. for some guys that maybe aren't as athletic as him. Are you still going to have that athletic edge that you had in the playoffs? And one game, obviously, against the Spurs lottery team, we'll see what it looks like against a good team. But so far, so good. So that made a difference. And then, Luka was fine. He had 8 assists. He had 4 turnovers. Like he played through the struggles, which was nice. I thought, less about the stat sheet. I felt like he saved most of his ref bitching to off-ball to dead ball moments.
I didn't notice it. I frankly did not notice it. And I was hosting a playback where I'm watching the game live, and I honestly didn't see anything. And that sort of stuff, and maybe I'm just trained to not see it anymore because it's kind of like background noise, but that's pretty something.
Saved it for mostly dead. Like he got into the refs like 2 or 3 times, and he like that. I know that jumped out to me. And each time he did it, it was when there was a dead ball, like it was out of bounds or a foul call. Like someone got called a foul and the play stopped. So.
Well, this is what's so funny. Logan in the chat says, give Luka time. He will get better as the season goes on. He had 28, 10, and 8. So
I know.
What an incredible game for a guy that can get better. Like, Logan's not wrong.
I know. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So, yeah, he'll be fine. I anticipate Saturday him shooting a lot better from the start. Probably Kyrie too. And that's the beauty of the Klay stuff, right? Yeah. Is if he is shooting 6 of 10 from 3, like, teams are gonna finally like. I don't think Kyrie and Luka have ever felt like teams are like shifting coverage off of them to another player. But if Klay shoots well, that's gonna start happening. They're gonna see more. They're gonna get more space and more room to do stuff.
No, I definitely think that's the case. All right, so what are we? We're almost at the 30-minute mark. Is there anything that's worth closing out on? Closing thoughts? I really liked PJ's passing. He only had 2 assists, but I felt there was more confidence in his drives. That was something I really enjoyed. Also liked his defense on Wemby.
Yeah, I liked his defense. You know, you still want him to have, like, still wondering what's going on with his shot, like 2 of 7 from 3.
It's
like,
so funny.
Yeah, like because he was so good college, first couple of seasons in the NBA. So I mean, it's one game, so who cares? But Maxi Kleber had a pretty awesome block. Played pretty well. I mean,
he was team high with 18. I said Klay earlier, but I can't read.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And he didn't play in the preseason either, so only being 1 of 3 from the field, only 3 points, like, whatever. It doesn't
15 minutes of Maxi. Like, that's what you want. 12 to 15 minutes of a guy who can eat innings and cannot fuck things up. He did great.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 15 minutes of Maxi.
He's also playing
25 to 30.
Well, that's the key. He was playing the 4 at backup 4, not backup 5 too.
Right. And he was able to roam off ball, which is how he got that sweet block. I don't even know who did he block. I can't remember, but that was a great. It was a great. Yeah, it was a great. I think it was on Sohan, who beat his man back door and probably could have scored if he laid it up, but he wanted to jam it, and Maxi met him at the rim. It was a great.
Well, and what followed that play was the Luka walkaway pass, and Klay taking like a set shot dribble 3, where it was like he had 45 seconds to shoot the thing.
Oh, and by the way, on a set that the Mavs ran 1 billion times for Tim Hardaway Jr., for everyone in this summer that had only watched the Mavericks in the finals or the Western Conference Finals, that had to get off their takes that the Mavericks' stagnant offense would be a poor fit for Klay, that clearly didn't see that Tim Hardaway Jr. played 4 of the best years of his life in Dallas. They lived like, I can maybe find it tomorrow morning. Like, it was the high pick and roll with Lively, as Lively's rim running down, Klay is coming in off him, top of the key. They did that with THJ more times than I can even count. And it looked great. So shocking development that this worked offensively.
No, it's really hard to imagine. Well, the last closing shot that I think I'll take before we get out of here is Grimes and Marshall were 2 of 12 from the floor. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that often. Those guys connect on a couple more shots. This game becomes a blowout earlier. The Mavericks have a lot of options. If you came into this game feeling confident, you should leave feeling confident. And that's where we head into Saturday playing the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be a fun game.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to pause here, and we're going to go to, quick shout out to 2 folks who left super chats. Henry, my man Henry, leaving his quick super chat. Says Captain Kyrie checking in, and Paul Armstrong saying no THJ LFG. I like that. Guys, thank you so much for your support. We're going to go to our secondary live show where you can join the chat. I'm going to post that the StreamYard link down there in the comments right now, so you guys can hop in and get ready. I'm going to post a quick break for an audio thing for me for when I upload the podcast. Those of you who are listening on audio streams, look for the secondary show to pop in your feed sometime on Friday afternoon. If anybody is at all interested, if anybody likes the Playback app, if you're unaware of what it is, I'll be posting links on Twitter. It's a really fun way to watch the game. I did my first kind of test room tonight. Ended up getting 40 people to join the channel, which was fun for me. We're going to have fun with that sort of thing this year. And, guys, really, really glad to be back. Really looking forward to the year. We will talk with everybody on Saturday late at night. Everyone be good and go Mavs.